I'm going to talk about the economic crisis all over the world. As we know that all over the world, all countries are facing unprecedented economic crisis, and according to World Bank, that in 2023 the globe is going into the economic recession, which is a very big problem. And we can see in the countries like the Sri Lanka, which is going through it, and the Pakistan and Bangladesh has also the dark clouds of recession hovering over their economies. And if I talk about the other countries, then dark clouds of recession are also hovering over the countries like USA, UK, and European zone. And actually, on the other side, their currency is also depreciating, which is a very big problem. But in terms of economic crisis, the most biggest problem is bankruptcy and the insolvency. Bankruptcy means it means the debt is very much. And so let's talk about the debt. That what is debt? So for continuing any business, for continuing or running a government, what we need? The funds. So the funds we can get by two ways. The one way is equity. The second way is debt. Debt is a very beneficial. It means it is very most of the people follow this because it gives because in terms of that you take the fund, and in exchange of that you give the interest rate, and due to which if you see you the shareholder, the original holder, the original owner do not have to give any part of their profit to the lender. And in this way, the lender, the borrower has the ability so that it can take the independent decisions. And that's why the government has to choose this, because if we forget all the PSUs, then nobody can buy the government. The government has its own right. Whatever they want to take steps, they can take it, and the government is elected by the people, so they have to take the decision. Not any other private company comes and take the equity of the government and can take the decision. That's why the government, nobody can buy the government. So that's why the government has to go this kind of way, the debt. And debt has some negative effects also. Let's see what are the negative effects. And actually in India, for any country, the central government, the state government, and the public sector, these their debt to GDP ratio actually defines the overall debt to GDP ratio of a country. So the central, if we talk about the India central government debt, then actually it is fluctuating. Like 1980s, it was very low, but by 1991 and 1992, actually it increases because due to the economic reforms we have taken, and now due to the COVID pandemic, it again increases. And after that, if I talk about the state government debt, then it is always increasing. And after the COVID pandemic, it increases a lot, and it is at a very high. It means all-time high. It is at a all-time high value. And if I talk about the public private investment, private debt, then it is about 50 to 55% in India. So if I talk about the public total debt, then it is about 89%. And if we combine if I combine the private sector debt and the total public debt, then it is about 140% of the GDP. So which is very high. But let's talk about another countries. What the debt to GDP ratio of that countries. Like Venezuela, it is about 350%, and now the Venezuela country is going through hyperinflation, and their economic condition is just chaos. And talking about the Italy, it is about I think it is about 136%. And if I talk about Greece, actually in Italy it is about 156%, and if I talk about the Greece, it is about 200%. And their economy, if we see the economic health of those countries, then it is crumbling, because the most important reason for that is in 2008 the economic recession or economic problem that occurs in 2008 in the European Union. So that's why. So these countries are affected a lot at that time. And after that, if I talk about the On the other side, if I talk about the developed countries, then for the USA it is about 126%, for Japan it is 266%, which is very high, and Singapore it is about 131%. So from this, if I talk about those countries which have very low debt to GDP ratio, like Brunei, it has about 3%, Afghanistan has about 7%, and in African country, there is an African country called Republic of Congo, it has about 15%. So if we see the economic condition and the health of these countries, so that is very most of the countries which have a low debt to GDP ratio, those countries are very underdeveloped and are developing. So that's why the debt is very important for the government, so that it can spend that, invest that on the infrastructure for the economic growth of the country. So that's why debt is very important. So on the other hand, so now the question arises that the Japan, which is a very developed country, and their debt to the GDP ratio is 266%. Instead, that Japan is a very stable country, and in the other side, if we see the Pakistan, which has also very debt to GDP ratio very high, but instead their economic condition is crumbling. So from this factor, we can see that we can't tell the economic condition of any country by just telling or by just seeing their debt to GDP ratio. That's why there are many factors which affect it. Let's see what are the factors. So the first factor is which affect is like rolls over risk. It means you have 100 rupees and you have to pay that loan in just one month, and another person which has 100 rupees and they have to pay that loan in 3 months. So that's why the person that have to pay that loan in 3 months, they can pay easily, but for the first nation it is very difficult. That's why due to which so this is a problem, and due to which their records overpaying disrupt, and actually for the nation one, they have to take another loan for paying the first loan. So that's why this is a reason, and that's why the government should choose very wisely that how they are going to pay the loan, for short term, for long term, which loan is going to be pay in the short term, which is going to be pay in the long term. So that's why they have to choose wisely. And the GDP growth rate, inflation, so these conditions also affect the economic health of a country. So from that we can see the economic health of a country. And if I talk about more, then the most important aspect is from where the government is borrowing. It means if the government is borrowing from the other countries, outside the countries, outside the countries, then this became a very big issue, and that's why this reason could also lead to the economic crisis. Let's see why. Like $1 is equals to 80 rupees now. We have taken $20 of loan, so now we have the loan of we have to pay a loan of 1600 rupees. But now due to some economic conditions, now $1 is equals to, let's say, 90 rupees. Now we have taken the loan of $20. Now we have to pay how much amount of loan? 1800. So it is 20 rupees more. It is 200 rupees more. So that's why it becomes a very big problem, that due to some that's why borrowing from other countries, the loan is become very big problem at this time when your value of the currency is depreciating. So that's why this is a big problem, and that's why most of the like USA is a very stable economy, because most of their loan is coming from inside. Domestic investors are investing in their loan. So that's why it means domestic people are giving the American government loans. So that's why. And after that, if I see another, the export or trade deficient also plays a very vital role for determining the economic health of a country. Like if you have more export and low imports, then it means that your economy is stable and it is going in the right way. So so the main advantage of that is, like if you export more, you get more foreign currency. That's why your forex reserve will increase, and at the time of the depreciating of the value of the currency, you can use that forex reserve to stabilize your currency. So this is the reason. And so from this you can see that there are many factors which define not we can't say that the person the country which has more debt, it means that country is going into the economic recession. It's not like that. There are many factors which affect it.